What's going on, Survivor Stock Watch people and Survivor Now people? My name is Will, and with me, I don't have Jack Powell. Instead, I have Mr. Ollie Grubb. Mr. Ollie Grubb, what are you doing here on this time of year?
Do you know what? I was like, I just wanted to change things up. I was like, don't want to do got something for you. Why not do StockWatch now? Unfortunately, Jack can't be here tonight, and I said I could fill in because it was a reasonable time for me.
Honestly, StockWatch is the most reasonable time for you. What time's it for? Is it 5 p.m. for you right this second?
4 p.m.
4
So I'm still having a
p.m.?
lovely afternoon, yeah.
I feel like daylight savings, I feel like at some point it's a 5-hour difference, but I'm not very cultured, as we find out during Survivor StockWatch seasons. So, anywho, because we have someone new here on the StockWatch grounds, Ollie, what is your opinion on Survivor 47 so far? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
Honestly, it's a good season. I have Survivor 46 as I have it very sacred because of my lovely girl Kenzie. But I do think Survivor 47 is giving it a run for its money. I think in terms of the strategy, we have had some big moves happening. Like, people aren't afraid to go for some threats, even if it means my favorites have to go. Definitely some strong personalities. So yeah, overall, I think it's doing well. I think it's making its mark.
Do you think there's a focus on strategy this season, where I feel like last season it was a focus on social gameplay? Or do you think, because I feel like you talked about like big moves this season, but mentioned how Kenzie was your girl last season. Kenzie was a very social player who, we can talk about her strategy all we want, but she pretty much won because of her social connections. Do you think this season's going to be different? Do you think we're going to get like a strategy winner?
Yeah, I definitely think this season there's going to be... I think this season, the strategy side of things is definitely going to play a slightly bigger part, especially we've seen with the pre-merge. Like, the perfect example to say is Keyshawn. Like, Keyshawn was such a great player in my mind, and you see Genevieve cut him for a strategic reason.
Yeah,
and I can see that happening like further on the line. I can see that we're going to have some strategic moves made, and those are going to play into the fact. Obviously, jury management, I think, is going to play a fact as well. But definitely, I think comparing to last season, there's going to be different factors.
I feel like we're gearing for not a Gabler-esque winner, but I feel like we're going to get a player who is very under the radar. I think, if it's who I think it is. But we'll get to the players when we get to them. Obviously, I can't just spoil what's down the line. But yeah, no. Is there anything you want to say before we begin? Do you want to talk about Got Something For You? Do you want to talk about what you do, Mr. Ollie Grubb?
Well, I mean, I guess for those that only watch StockWatch, which, not mad at, it's a very good one. Obviously, I'm part of course. Got Something For You. We have tomorrow. I won't be there, unfortunately. I will be at a wedding. But catch Phil and a very special guest tomorrow, as they'll just be talking about the episode as a whole. That's what we do. We kind of just go off on our tangents, and then we also look at the social medias. So I've been scouring all the social medias, looking at all the fun stuff, and we've got some polls on X. So go check them out as well. You can fill them out and have your say. But we're here to talk about StockWatch, so we're here to talk about it.
I always let the guests, they can speak their piece. I'm treating you like how I treat like Survivor alumni. I'm kissing ass. I'm letting you speak. Like this is the treatment that we give to our guests. Anywho. So this is the Survivor StockWatch rulebook. The TLDR is basically we rank people based off of winner potential. So a prime example would be a player like Gabe, right? So to a lot of players, people might rate Gabe pretty low because Gabe, on paper, he's ruffling a lot of feathers right now. He's doing a lot of bad moves. But me and Jack still believe that there's a little bit of winner potential. We called it the Gabler insurance. Right, very early on. There's some other players too where I feel like people will be surprised why we have them where we are. despite their positions being great or the positions not being great. And we'll get to that later. However, if there's a slash, that means that me and Jack believe that they don't have any winner potential. And how we rank those people is based off of placement potential. So, for example, like Genevieve is going to be kind of high because we think that of everyone who isn't a winner, we think Genevieve could go the farthest. And any questions, Ollie, about the rule book?
No, I think it's explained very well. I mean, for someone like me that likes explanations, this is doing me wonders. So yeah, no, I'm good.
It takes it back to your school days, like PE, and you get to read the rules, know, or when you get in trouble, you have to write on the chalkboard,
I never got in trouble.
You never got in trouble?
I never got in trouble. I charmed my way out of trouble.
I feel like I was a goody two shoes. I still am to this day. That's why I'm such a suck up.
I'm a goody two shoes with a very sassy mouth, so I don't know where I stand at this moment in time.
You push the boundary without going too far. I think that's a good way. I do the same thing.
That's very true.
Anywho, let's go to Tiana. Now, Ollie, I just want to say that me and Jack called it, especially me. And I know you're not in the the group chat because apparently you would charge our rates, and but Jack was celebrating when Tiana went out not because of anything, but just because we called it. For a while, I kept saying that Tiana is someone who I don't think would make it very far, and someone who I think from the split merge, I think Rachel would have flipped and would have gotten the Tuku people to flip, and I think Tiana would have caught the most heat, and that's pretty much what happened. To a lesser extent, we didn't take into account an advantage play. However, Tiana went out. And what do you think of Tiana's gameplay this season and also just storyline this season? Do you think Tiana is someone who on another season could have made it far, or do you think she was kind of just too passive of a player to really make it far unless she got picked up by another player?
No, I stand on the fact that I think Tiana would have done better on a different tribe or different season. I think the tribe that she got put on was not her tribe. Because unfortunately, I think you did have some people on her tribe that very much were trying to Boston rob their way to control the tribe. And I think there could have been an avenue for her, especially actually at this tribal, had other people done certain things or thought about certain things. I just think it was the case of how she kind of played things was vastly different from those people, and that's what made her a target. I think if she was on a different tribe or even a different season, I think she could have done so much better.
It's hard to say because of the weird amount of screen time that Tiana had, where she was kind of invisible. But then we hear about how Kyle was really close with Tiana. Looking at it now, I think it's pretty obvious what her storyline was. And I think it's also explainable why she didn't get a lot of screen time this season, because she was just a casualty at the split merge tribal council, where it was all Tuku for whatever reason. And I feel like had Tuku gone to tribal pre-merge, I thought that if they lost the challenge instead of Gata, I kind of think it would be the same exact situation.
Agreed.
I think Kyle wouldn't have had his vote. I honestly just didn't think Annika would go when she did. I thought they would swap placements with the exact same storylines happening, just at different times. Put to shame, because I think there were moments where Tiana, I think, had some really good strategy. I just think she blundered a little too early, and I just think that Sue, Caroline, and Gabe are just the worst people for Tiana to play with, because Caroline wants to keep the status quo. Gabe wants to be a big player, and Sue is very reactionary, where if you cross her, then she wants you gone.
Yes.
And Tiana being close with Kyle, and then Kyle winning immunity, just all the stars aligned for Tiana to really just get a swift boot.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think just like you kind of said there, I think it did kind of verge on the other people, because I think, especially to kind of your point with Sue, Tiana I feel like wanted to play very adaptive and very fluid. Like, she wanted to have those avenues, whereas, and I hate saying this because I think everyone really does like Sue, and I don't want this to come across like I'm not liking Sue, but I do think Sue is not practicing what she's preaching this season, in the sense of, she's like, oh, I want to prove everyone wrong, but she has kind of just becomes like someone's like wing, but like just little person.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so like that's where, and I think because of that and other factors, that's what really hurt Tiana. Yeah, but I am sadder because I was rooting for Tiana. Yeah. Very happy though that Bruce took her off my hands for the draft, though.
That's fair. I mean, I was just glad that she had a really emotional vote out
moment. Yeah,
that's something I really appreciate about a lot of tribal council this season, where Annika was very upset and she was shocked and annoyed. I think Rome being upbeat actually kind of works out, even though I'm not a big fan of like people being happy when they get voted out and like oh, good job in the new era. I think Rome doing it really works out, because who would have thunk? I think Tiana being upset, I just think it, like a lot of the rawness that a lot of people want from the old seasons of Survivor is coming back slowly.
We're getting.
And I just don't like when people are still saying like, oh, new era sucks, new era is this, that, the other thing. I actually like and really like the new era, especially over like Survivor 30s. Yeah. I think the emphasis on new people or characters over gameplay, I think works out, despite who I have at number 1. But that's besides the point.
Yeah, no, I definitely think these last couple of seasons we've seen some of those old school tendencies come back within like these last couple of casts, which I think is resonating with people. So,
and it's making me want to go back to like season 41, 42, 43, and just seeing with the lens now of watching Survivor 45, 46, 47, how do those seasons compare to now? Because now we have something to really rank them against. When Survivor 42 was first airing, people hated it because the only thing they could compare it to was Survivor 38.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. As we head over to Kyle, who me and Jack both have as last place, Kyle is just getting a weird edit the entire time where he's not really shown at all, and then people are saying he's good guy Kyle, he's my friend, he's like a great guy, and then he's winning challenges. I think he's like a very light version of JT in a way, where he's like the good old boy, everyone loves him, everyone likes him. Weird episode with the Rome vote, and then now it's back to being more reserved and quiet, wanting to save Tiana, not quite doing that. What do you think of Kyle so far, and do you think there's any longevity? Because I honestly don't see it. This season.
I know. You've kind of summed it up really well there. Like, Kyle is this person, like he's the good old boy, like he's nice, but that doesn't equate to loyalty. Like, as you put it, but loyalty be damned. Like he hasn't really got anyone that's like going to keep him safe. And I think the fact that he's now won 2 immunities in a row, like people are just going to use that against him. Like, he is going to be this trophy boot, as I like to call him. He's going to be this trophy boot that once everyone says his name, everyone's just going to agree to it, because it's going to be this easy, like shiny thing to go for. So yeah, I kind of think the ranking's right on this one, because I do think he's a bit doomed, sadly.
Yeah, and it's a shame, because I feel like there would be potential for Kyle. I think if he linked up with another player, I think he could have made it far. I think he could even fell backwards into a win. He needs like who does he need? He needs like a very strong and very aggressive strategic player, and he needs to be the social player. Like, he needs a Stephen Fishback on steroids to make up for Kyle's kind of passiveness. And I don't mind passive players; they come all the time, and it's something fun to as a roadblock to the more strategic players, because it just gives you a challenge. Because if you're playing with 7 other game bots, and you're able to make the right move 100% of the time, it just kind of makes it boring. I just think with Kyle, he doesn't have anyone, and because Tuku hasn't been going to tribals, I don't think he realizes his position. And the only time he really developed any sort of strategy, it came from Rome calling him out.
Yeah.
So I just don't know.
No, I think he just needs to put himself out there, really, because I think the whole even with Tiana going, but it was a literally 4-1. Like, he voted with those Tuku people.
Yep.
If people still sit there and go, they're a close bomb, we need to go after a Tuku, damn well Gabe is going to sit there and go take Kyle.
Yep.
Like, he's going to literally offer up Kyle and be like, right, make this illusion of, like, you want us, like, we'll happily show this. Kyle's Tuku. Like, he'll make up some lie and Kyle will be will be the casualty. He will be the trophy boot, sadly.
And that's what Caroline was even saying this episode to Tiana, where Caroline's like, hey, I don't want to vote out Gabe, because if we go back to merge 5 strong, they'll just pick off Kyle. And so I feel like, honestly, because people were talking about Tuku in that way, I think despite voting out Tiana, I still think they're going to be gung-ho of voting out Kyle. I think they're still going to want him gone because he is the trophy boot, which is a really cool term, by the way. I'd never heard that. So I'm going to say that.
Have I just added something for StockWatch?
Yeah, you just, we have the crackpots, and now we have the trophy boots.
Yeah. Well, that's like, we've seen it so many times on Survivor. There have been people that are just this perfect example is kind of Q from last year, or last season, sorry. He was this shiny little trophy boot that as soon as people would just all agree on it, he was going to go. Like, he was always, I knew he was never making it to the end. And it was just the time that everyone was going to sit there and be like, okay, we will do this unifying vote and just make the shiny one go, just to save everyone else around.
And I also think a better example too would be Hunter, because Hunter is like Survivor MacGyver.
Yeah.
So much screen time dedicated to him being like a know-it-all. And the second he had a little bit of vulnerability, everyone was just, let's get at Hunter.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it sucks having Kyle this low, because he does just seem like a cool guy, and it's nice checking in on him like once every 3 episodes. But it's just, I'm just expecting Kyle to go very soon. Next episode, or even the episode after. I just don't see him making it far. And yeah, and then coming up next, we have a brand new addition to the Slashes. We have Sierra, a player who I wanted to add to the Slash last episode. Sierra fell from grace, in my opinion. I think that there were a lot of potential in the midpoint of the pre-merge, where I felt like Sierra, had a lot of good strategy. I think she was shown in a decent light, and I think she would have pulled out ahead over Sam, where I think she can make a really deep run, but all of her screen time just evaporated, and now she's just kind of stuck. Last episode was bad. I think this episode was even worse, where she had a one-off confessional about wanting to relax at Tribe camp.
Yeah.
And then that was even interrupted by Genevieve reading Tree Mail, and then a really good Rachel confessional. Do you see hope with Sierra? Do you think she is still a winner contender, or do you think this is a apt placement for her?
I think this is a fair placement. Yeah, I think right now I don't see a winning potential yet. I kind of agree with you in the sense of once kind of they all merged, not that she plateaued, but she did kind of go into the background a little bit. And I think it's kind of, we saw this whole thing this episode with Andy and wanting to go for Agatha and stuff. And because there was that really cool kind of editing thing like they did with Genevieve where it was Andy sitting there and then you had like Sierra pop up, Sam pop up. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that could play into something. And part of me thinks if Andy was to kind of do that strike, he probably may go for Sierra, I think.
Yeah.
Just because I think it would get back that, you know, Sierra is the one that probably would most likely push for Andy to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, if something juicy happens, I could see Andy and Sam linking back up. And I could see Sam just throwing Sierra under the bus, saying, look, I want you to stay. I wasn't the one making you the decoy or the other boot. It was Sierra, which I don't think would happen. But just imagine how crazy that'd be. I think what's going to happen with Sierra, I think Hal's going to go very soon. And I think after that, I think Andy and Genevieve, that coalition, they're going to come together. I think they're going to target Sam, but I think Sam's going to have something. I think he's going to have either an advantage or he's going to win the challenge.
Yeah.
I think something will happen where Sierra's going to be the decoy.
Yeah.
I think that explains why everyone and their grandma are thinking they're dating early on. I think that's why all of her screen time is dedicated to either Sam or bashing Andy. Because outside of that, we haven't seen much of anything from Sierra. And so I feel like I feel like Sierra is just kind of doomed in this weird position where a lot of her story is just contingent on two other players, one of which do not trust her at all anymore. And it's a shame.
Yeah, I completely, yeah. Yeah.
And you'll find that I feel like all the clouds kind of went away, and I think more than ever, there's not really a lot of questions on who the contender is. I think the season is weird, but I feel like me and Jack are in agreements with a lot of our rankings, and I think even if you disagree, you'll be like, oh, that just makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely think with this one it does make sense for me. Like I think she will probably be collateral in some way. It's just figuring out when and where. But I definitely agree with the whole. They'll try and go for Sam. Sam potentially wins immunity, so it's like, right, what can we do to weaken Sam? Go for Sierra.
Yeah. And we have a interesting take from Mona Allen. What's up, Mona, by the way? Where Sierra could be a potential fire maker.
Yeah.
I think I can see this if Sam wins. I don't think Sierra is going to win. If she goes to fire, I would like to see the final 5 and final 4 and final 3 in that scenario. I think that'd be a very interesting take. I've been disagreeing with it more and more after her lack of screen time, because I feel like if she lost fire or a losing finalist, I think she would still have more screen time. I think back to Ben and Charlie of last season, where Charlie made the fire, right?
No, it was Kenzie and Liz.
Oh, whoopsie daisies. not them then, but just a fire making loser. And also I think of Jake, right, from 4v5, where he made fire, he won, got no votes. I think Sierra could have the same trajectory, obviously not to the level of Jake, where if she does make fire, I just think it'd be one of those things where it just didn't help her resume. Or maybe she makes it to Final 4 and thinks, I need to make a move, tries to make fire, either loses or wins, but still it's a little too late.
Yeah.
But that's a cool take. I like that. We like our crackpot theories. And if I call it weird or interesting, it's not an insult. I promise.
In Will's mind, that is not an insult.
I spent the entirety of Survivor 45 calling Bruce a losing finalist, so I don't really have a leg to stand on. I also had Keyshawn way too high.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I didn't have him high enough.
Exactly.
Next up, I think another pretty linear, a pretty obvious pick. We have Saul, where I think Saul more and more, he reminds me of Liz, where I think he had a rivalry, just no screen time whatsoever early on. And then I think I could see him making it like weirdly far. I could see him making it to like Final Five, and I could see that. But I also see him going like next episode. You know?
Yeah. Well, I don't see him going next episode. I could see him kind of being in like that mid-merge section. I think we've started to see this trajectory of Soul, and I think he's going to have some strong moments. But I do kind of agree with you. I think he will kind of be like in that mid. Hey Jay. It will be in that mid to late kind of merge jury phase where he kind of gets seen and people kind of then start connecting the dots. I think he could potentially end up telling someone that, he could end up telling Rachel that he did that. He gave her the advantage, and then she goes and tells everyone, and everyone goes, dangerous. Possibly.
Yeah, but I think also, do you think Saul is getting a weird edit in the sense where he's constantly shown being away from the tribe to focus on advantages? Something I've noticed is that there's scenes where the tribe's hanging out. Like this episode, they're playing baseball, and Saul sneaks off.
Yeah.
Last episode, we got a confessional from Andy, and I think Genevieve saying, "Hey, we should focus on social bonds. We should focus on this, that, the other thing." And then it cuts to Saul going, "What is everyone doing? We need to go hunt for this advantage. We needed to go do this, that, and the other thing."
Yeah.
What do you
think? I definitely think he has had a weird edit. Obviously, I think the first couple of episodes it was just quiet, and then it was this big rivalry between him and Rome. And then in these last couple of episodes, obviously, we've seen kind of these weird key moments of Soul, where it's like in the edit, we see that he is the one that lets Carl know what's going on. He's the one that finds the advantage. Like, he has sort of been the catalyst of what's been going on, but it's always kind of come out of left field. So I'm unsure. Like, I still think he's got the goods to go far, but I think there's just going to be this left field thing that occurs. Like he's going to, I think he's going to do something, but unfortunately it's going to be that thing where people clock it. I don't know yet, but I agree it's a weird edit.
Maybe. This is a weird opinion, but I think we're due for a medevac this season.
Is this a crackpot theory?
130%. Where you had that.
I got it ready.
But I feel like the thing is, like Saul's edit is just too reliant off of other people, where it feels way too situational, right? So again, like he had a whole rivalry with Rome, and that was pretty much pre-merge Saul. And then, last episode, it was again about Rome. Rome gets voted out, and now it's about advantages. Now it's about helping out Rachel. And I don't know why, but like part of me just thinks that Saul is going to, like, I feel like we're just due for someone this season getting out of the game in an unconventional way. Do I want this to happen? No, I don't like medevacs whatsoever. I don't know. I feel like they're hard to read in terms of the edit, right? Like I think of Randon from last season, where like who knew what he was doing.
Didn't expect that, yeah.
Like the Edgikers, they had no idea what was going on with Randon the entire season. Also, I like watching the people in the comments like talk to each other. We have Mona and Jay having
Okay.
saying hi to each other. That this is the community that we've built up on Survivor StockWatch, which goes back to the community theme on Survivor 47.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely this weird community going on with them. So
Not weird. A lovely
weird.
community.
No, no, not here. I meant on Survivor 47. It's the dynamics. Yeah.
And that we'll get to that later too, where I feel like I think paying attention to like season themes like that can be important, because I think it really mattered last season, right? Where Probst just foreshadowed one of you's not winning. What happens? Charlie does everything right and still doesn't win, which I'm happy for. I'm not saying that Kenzie's undeserving, but like I am saying that Charlie didn't really make a lot of bad moves. He just got unlucky, which is why Survivor is such a great show. I know you're a Kenzie fan, so I don't want you to be misconstrued. Me and Jack clocked Kenzie, by the way, so like we were on board. Anywho, for Randy, we have Genevieve as the last.
By stream.
So like my thing with Genevieve is that she's not winning, and as much as great as the content she's getting right now, I think the fact that she got no screen time whatsoever, and had a no confessional episode, despite it being about Rome and despite a lot of people wanting to make an excuse for it, to me that is kind of a death sentence. That, and also having a backstory package as a secret scene, I think are two things that make me personally automatically rule out a winner. I know there's a player that we'll get to later who had a no confessional episode, and people still want to rank them high. I personally dropped them down, and I feel like with Genevieve is that I think she's the final boss. I don't think she goes at Final Four, but I think she draws a lot of parallels narratively to Omer from 42, where I think the eventual winner is going to take out Genevieve. Now, could this be Andy, where how they have an alliance now together? I don't think so. But and Mona has a great point too. Like, why is her edit not like Kenzie's? And then also Jay agreeing with me as well with the no vote confessionals. I think she's the final boss, quite like Omer, where maybe there's people getting voted out after her, but I think she's kind of the dragon this season. And do you agree with that?
Yeah,
Mr. Ali Graham?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there is still part of me that thinks she could at least make maybe final tribal. Just because I think she's been doing this really good under the radar sort of thing where she's letting things happen and she's taking a step back and kind of looking at the dynamics to then bite when she needs to. I do definitely agree with you. I think if she does get voted out, it's going to be this big move. Like, it's going to be whoever does it gets to the end and goes, what was my big move? I got Genevieve out, who was controlling this game. So I definitely can understand what you mean when she could be that Omar, Jesse type person where they are this big threat and you have to be the reason they go. I can definitely agree with that. Obviously, I think part of me would love to see her win, but I do understand she could get sniped and it be the move that garners a lot of favor with the jury from a strategic standpoint.
Oh yeah, I think honestly Genevieve might be the best player on this cast. I think if we drop her in any season, I think she does really well. I think I love how level-headed she is as a player.
Yes.
And her being low, it's not because I think she can't do it. It's just I think that this is just not her season. And maybe she comes back for Survivor 50.
Rumor has it there is a 47 player.
And a lot of people think it's Rome because of the character. I could see that. But I think I think for Survivor 50, I think maybe they go for more of a strategic player, and maybe Genevieve is a strategic force, kind of like Jesse from Survivor 43. You want to play the crackpot theory thing real quick?
Oh, let me find it. Hold on.
I got you. We let the viewers also have their crackpot theories. You know, we're a welcoming community here. Survivor StockWatch. I love season themes like that. Survivor 47 : the community. Shout out. Anywho, now we're getting out of Slashland, and now we're going to Gabe, who really fell from grace, because Jack Powell had Gabe really, really high. Really, really high. He thought he was the winner. And I thought he had a good episode, but recently he's been falling pretty far. What do you think of Gabe?
I don't think much of Gabe. If I was to give anyone a slash, Gabe, I would give a slash. Gabe, I would give all the slashes to. From episode 1, I have not seen Gabe as a winner. And my reasoning behind this is because of how he speaks about people.
Yes.
Because when you look at his confessionals, every time I look at his confessionals and every time we hear from him, obviously he's doing that whole villainous vibrato thing, which is that's not my reason. But actually, if you listen to what he's saying, he talks to people. When he's talking about people, they're puppets, not people. That
yes.
So to me, that will get old really quick, and I think my theory is if he does make it to the end, he doesn't win, and it is due to jury management and social capital. I really don't see Gabe winning, especially even when you saw that scramble at Tribal Council, he sat there and literally said we can control Sue. He was still talking as to say he wasn't talking about them as people. It was he wasn't looking at it from a threat perspective. It was who are my minions? And I feel really bad because I didn't think I was going to slander Gabe this week, but here we are. But I really don't see Gabe winning. I see him as a certain person, but I don't want to speak his name, so we just move on.
Tell me after, or put it in the private chat or text to me, because now I'm curious. You know, Gabe is just a little too negative right now for me. And I wanted to put him in the slash. I'm giving it one more episode. And the only reason why I'm waiting is because the fact that we always hear from Gabe. Whenever a player gets unnecessary screen time, it always is a question mark for me. I think Mariah from last season. Why did Mariah have the screen time she had? Why did she get that whole jumping scene? What was that about? What's going on there? And I feel like, and to Jay's credit too, he does talk to them like normal. Yes, he did say he wanted to control Sue, but I feel like that could be explained. I think it was less he views it like that. I think he wanted Kyle to think that he would have more control if he flipped on Tiana, and wanted to have that out. I think when he talks to Sue, I think it's differently. I think Gabe's problem in terms of his villainous behavior is I think he just thought he'd be a bigger personality. I think honestly he didn't expect Rome to be on the season. I think had Rome not been there, I think Gabe would have filled in his shoes. And maybe Gabe has a heroic send off. Maybe he has a heel turn. Maybe he's getting shielded. I don't know, because I feel like a lot of his maybe his villainous behavior. Because when he was hugging Rachel and he gave that weird smirk to the camera. My only issue with Gabe too is that he always talks a big game. He wants to be a legend. He wants to do that.
Yeah.
It's like the anti-winner confessional or winner quote that we see early on in Survivor seasons. where a winner's like, oh, I want to win the $1 million. Like Todd Herzog, right? Survivor China. Richard Hatch, even in Survivor Borneo. Gabe has the opposite, where he's like, I want to be a legend.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of an org player, or like Jelinski, if Jelinski made it far, which I think is a player that not a lot of people are comparing Gabe to. But I think it's pretty apt. You know, do you?
I remember what I first compared him to, so I know I was mean there. I think it's almost like kind of a Spencer Blease from Cagayan. Like, he's trying to come in being this big showboat, like, this is how I'm going to do, and it's going to fall back on his face. Like, it's going to be what screws him over, in my opinion. So, personally, I would agree with you on the sense of maybe I think he deserves a slash. Text Jack and be like, Jack, I have no opinions, but slash him.
You know. I think this season we've been a little more reserved on slashes. Like I really push hard for Sierra to be a slash, but Jack was a little weary. I also think Jack wanted to slash Sierra way earlier on, and I kind of pushed him against that. Like I'm talking episode 3 where Sierra had good screen time. And so I think that's the only reason why he doesn't have one right now. Slashes are a communal, a joint effort, if you will, between me and Jack. So yeah, but now we go to a player who I would say fell from grace, but this just feels right. We have Sam.
Yeah.
Sam has winner potential, but also not really. I think he has a lot of right ideas. I just think he's a player doomed to fail the second he steps foot on Survivor. Just look at him. Do you want to work with him? Do you want him to go far?
I mean, I put him on my draft, so there was part of me that was like, yes. I definitely think we said earlier with Kyle, Sam, I think we'll get into that territory of being a trophy boot.
Yep.
He will probably, and it's just not for any other reason than people will just box him into being this big threat. And it's like, I think if he is able to point out other people, then possibly he could, survive a couple of rounds. But if people aren't willing to listen, then I don't think there's much hope, which is sad because he's my remaining draft member. But I think if he's able to kind of be like, clock what I've done, clock what these people have done, then maybe. But I still think he has that trophy boot potential where he's going to be the shiny, easy thing that people will just like, oh, he's a threat. Let's get rid of the threat. And it's like, go for it.
Yeah, I think Sam has some outs. I think he could, maybe do like an all threats alliance, or he has outs. I just don't see him taking it or really being able to take them. I do think he is that classic 8th place finishing. As much as we don't talk about placement potential, that is something we talk about on StockWatch. That is kind of its own little unique trophy where the 8th placers are always the strong players. Kind of like Hunter. I think did Hunter get 8th? No, he got
Tiffany got 8th.
Tiff even stronger of a player than Hunter. Yes, I said that. Disagree all you want, y'all, but I'm not even the biggest Tiffany fan. That's I respect the players. But do you know who Sam does remind me of? This is not a Survivor player. Do you see the guy on Instagram and TikTok, and he's always like locked in? He's a corporate guy, and he's like, bad day to be an Excel spreadsheet. Let's crunch these numbers. I'm going to send you a clip. I don't know if anyone saw those videos. He got big on Instagram, but he kind of looks like Sam. And I sent a video to Jack, and he laughed and found it funny. But that's neither here nor there. Anywho, where can I find the advertisements. Oh yeah, pick a number, 1 to 3. Mr. Ollie Grubb.
1.
1.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a quick ad break, and it's sponsored by Bracketology.
Think you're the most knowledgeable Survivor superfan? Well, you can put that to the test with our Fantasy Survivor game. Welcome to Bracketology, fantasy sports for reality TV. We provide fantasy football style games for your favorite shows like Survivor and many more. We also have bracket style elimination challenges. Set your picks once for the whole season to see how your prediction skills fared. And don't forget to check out the season extras like contestant info, where you can see all the bios of each contestant, and our scoring recaps that are published each episode. Download the Bracketology mobile app or play on your computer at fantasy.bracketology.tv. It's entirely free to play, and you can win some awesome prizes. Good luck.
I love Bracketology. Also, yes. I forgot to switch the slides to Caroline. Ollie, I feel like you'd be a Caroline fan. I feel like you're rooting for Caroline. No?
No. She's... So how you said Soul has a weird edit, for me, Caroline has a weird edit.
Yes. Now, I said this before on the show, but do you think she is like the Sophie Clark player that I always talk about?
No.
No, you don't see it?
No. I think my one issue with Caroline this season is we've seen it in the edit that she is kind of trying to be this kumbaya, like mother hen player who wants to keep all the people together. I think if she continues that, it's going to bite her in the butt. Like, it's going to bite her because she is going to unintentionally alienate people. And I think because we saw it obviously with the first time we kind of saw it was with the reward, that when they actually did kind of do split into different people, and we saw her then trying to like put everyone together. And then this episode, it was like, she was really trying to stick with this, keep everyone together. I do think she had a very good comment when she was talking to Tiana, but I still think if that continues, if she kind of still sticks with Sue and Gabe as someone who has literally kind of thrown her under the bus and said, like, we can get her out at some point, I think that she will, it will be a downfall, basically. So that's why I worry about.
That's fair. I have Caroline really high, but at the same time too, it's not necessarily because I think she is a strong player. I don't think she's getting a strong edit. I just think that there's no one else really. I think there's a gap between my top 3, and I feel like Caroline just didn't have enough screen time. I do think that she is making a lot of right moves. I do love level-headed players. I love players who don't mind not being flashy. So maybe I'm just biased because that's what I loved about Genevieve. And I think it's very similar to Caroline, where it's not that she wants to be kumbaya per se. Like, I don't think she's like, ooh, we all love each other and I want the vibes to be great. I think Caroline thinks that for her game, it makes sense for Tuku to stick together because I think she feels very shielded, right? Where I feel like if they voted out Rachel, right? Let's say they did vote out Rachel. I think I like how she thinks that Kyle would be the vote, and I think that is true. Yeah, I think Gabe would get a lot of heat as well. I think Tiana just didn't have a lot of social maneuvering, a lot of play, and I could see her sticking with the Tukus until she can't any longer and kind of bridges out. Again, reminds me of Sophie Clark, where her alliance is very fractured, but also tight at the same time, like a very weird group.
I think that's completely fair.
And she doesn't want to rock the boat because she is in the best position, I think, her and Sue on Tuku. And I think her getting more screen time than Sue this episode actually made me put her ahead of Sue. Where Jag disagrees. I don't know why. I just think he's a Sue fan. And to Mona's, I think this really encapsulates Caroline's edit.
Yes.
Where there's a lot of right stuff. There's a lot of good, but it's also they're just missing a big ingredient. It's like having a stew without a protein. It's like, what kind of stew is it? Oh, it's just broth and potatoes.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that's the thing. Like I think we just need that little bit more personability from Caroline. Obviously, from the editors. If we see her getting that sort of edit, then my mind could definitely change. But yeah, I just think if she is willing to branch, because we saw that there was actually something during that episode where they got to go to the sanctuary where good things happen.
Always got to say the full title, the full tag.
Like good things happen. And we saw her talking to, I think it was Rachel Intini.
Yep.
And we saw that branching off. And I actually saw that and thought, that's really good of Caroline. Like she's adapting, she's giving herself options. But then we haven't really seen that since. Even with the amulets, like I still think the amulets could have been more, but I just feel like it's always there's just been like that little missing piece for her. And could that resonate with her game? Currently, yes. I think if we have that missing piece, then something could change.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I blanked out for a minute there. Honestly, Caroline just seems like a Great Depression meal, like carpet tacks and sardines, where it's like the sardines are good. We love sardines, but then it's like carpet tacks are just blank. I think the reason why we saw the sanctuary where good things happen in that conversation, I think that's not because it's going to like shine a light on Caroline being a mastermind. I think it's going to explain why Caroline makes it further than a lot of other Tukus, why Kyle goes over her, and I think that's going to be the explanation. And I also want to point out this comment where they always show her facial expressions. I don't think that is a narrative thing. I don't think it's an edgic thing. I just think that's a TV moment. She's Survivor's own John Krasinski, who's the guy from The Office.
Yeah, John Krasinski.
Krasinski. I don't know
husband.
But it's important to know like what is a edgic moment, a moment that's important for the story, and what's just a good TV moment. Like Rome being the giving the intro in the last episode, which I think was a fantastic episode.
That was funny.
One of my favorite episodes of the Survivor New era. Not gonna lie. Anything else to say about Caroline or? Yeah. I don't think Caroline has much to say about Caroline. Respectfully, I love Caroline. Yeah. And we have Sue. Sue, I think I have the most bad things to say about any player besides Gabe, who I still have a winner contender. I'm not the biggest fan of Sue. I don't really see her winner story. I see a lot of things, but I just don't see the winner arc.
Yeah.
I don't like how reactionary she is. I don't like how she's saying, "Ooh, I really, really want Kyle to go." Early on, I think when you close off doors like that, I just think you don't really set yourself up well. I also feel like she's going to be too loyal to Tukus, and I don't think she's going to branch out nearly enough. And I'm surprised how she got away with the autoplay. But that's the thing about Sue, where I feel like she gets away with it. Where I feel like she makes moves where I disagree with them, but they still somehow work out for no reason.
Yeah.
And this episode, she gets no confessionals despite her target going. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually I do agree with you. I struggle actually seeing Sue's winning potential, and like you said, it is very rigid gameplay. It's like I kind of said at the beginning of the show, for someone who was there, like I'm gonna prove them all wrong, and I'm not seeing that, sadly. Because I do think character-wise, she's a great character. I love hearing her confessionals because there is such it's just a really good narrative. But it was like she was always gunning for Tiana just because straight away she kind of said Gabe's hunting for an idol. Well, I think everyone could have probably clocked that. And then it was like when Gabe came up, when Kyle came up to them and was like, I'm just giving you this information. She was more annoyed that he was telling, like, he was throwing Gabe under the bus. And it's like, I understand if you have a ride or die. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a ride or die, but when the edit is showing that she is remaining loyal to this person no matter what, I think, unfortunately, it's looking from an edit perspective like she's just going to be looked at as Gabe's soldier. And I hope that there is maybe something that occurs that like stops that happening, and we see this moment that we saw preseason of Sue that's like, I'm going to prove you all wrong and I'm going to like put my stamp on it. Then I think things will change. But I agree with you. I struggle seeing the winner potential right now in Sue. And I'm sorry about that. I like Sue as a person. I like Sue as a player. I don't see the win equity at the moment.
Oh yeah. And I think Jay's coming around too. I feel like Jay's my boy. I feel like whenever I have a weird opinion, Jay's like, you know what? I see that. Shout out to you, Jay. And Mona also saying that Rachel has more winner equity than Sue. We'll get to Rachel in a second, because I have a lot to say about Rachel. And again, the community of Survivor StockWatch, where Mona and Jay are just best of buds. Put them both on Survivor Blood versus Water. And do you think Gabe will take out Sue?
I think if he does, it will be his. That will be what ruins his game.
Yeah,
because again, it will show a heartless side of him that will make people go, well, why should we give you respect and our votes when you haven't shown that to any of us, especially Sue, who was there for you like through thick and thin, and you've literally just gone, nope. Because again, I've said this so many times, it was not to bring up Charlie, but when Charlie didn't win, I did attribute it to a slight lack of jury management or the wrong jury management.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the case with Gabe. I will stand on my thing. I don't think Gabe's winning anyway. I think if Gabe was to ever take out Sue, it would be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. I don't think Charlie did anything wrong. I just think Kenzie did more things right.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. We can argue about Survivor people all day long. I think Gabe will take out Sue. I don't think it'll make Gabe lose the game in a jury perspective. I just think Gabe is going to play a little too hard, a little too quickly, do a little too much, and I think it'll immediately blow up. Kind of like Tevin taking out Soda, right? Where it's like Tevin's like, I made this move. Did Tevin take out Soda?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm making sure
it was Tevin and Liz. Like, I think I attribute both of them to that move, but obviously Tevin, I think both of them had different reasons, but both of them were definitely the reasons behind Soda going.
Yeah. Interesting episode there. Yes. But I think that's what's going to happen with Sue, but I still see the winner potential because Erica did have a no vote or no confessional episode. So maybe, but it's looking bleak, and I think this is the beginning of the end for Sue. As we go over to Andy, who we have at number 3, despite his episode 1 meltdown.
Yeah.
Do you think Andy could win the game? Do you think he has a shot?
I don't know. I'm still not on the Andy hype train. I feel like people are just going to be like, who do you like? I do like people. They're just in pre-jury.
That's fair.
That's fair. I think it's still going to take a lot for Andy. Unfortunately, I think Andy's like, because Andy still has that sloppy reputation. It's like we still saw in the edit that he was looking for advantage and got caught out. I feel like we're always still seeing this like sloppy edit. I think right now, if I had to put him best, I would put him a 0 vote finalist. I think he could get to the end, but not get the votes because it's like, because I can't remember who was talking about this, but someone said that like, oh, he was in charge of the Arnica vote. I actually attribute Sierra and Sam to that vote over Andy because Sierra was the one in that position, and I think that would be the case for me. I think he would get to the end, try and claim a lot of these moves, and everyone would be going, no, let me fact check you. I don't know. He's had a very sloppy edit still. I think unless that edit, we're still waiting. I'm still waiting for that redeeming. Yeah, the arc to go up. If I see it, then I can possibly see him winning. But I still see sloppy edit from him, sadly.
Yeah, I think he reminds me of like Jake and Owen of like the Charlie Brown edit, where I do think his edit is going to be a very a character arc, not really strategic, where I think he's going to grow. I think maybe David Wright as well to a lesser extent, because I feel like there's been times where Andy makes a lot of sense. There's been times where Andy got shielded. Something that I didn't know during the Annika vote, or maybe even before that, when they were exchanging the chickens for eggs, they hatched an egg that Andy broke, which would have been great to show on screen. It would have been an amazing moment because it's another Andy messes up moment. But we didn't see that. It wasn't even a secret scene. It was just something off screen, off camera, something that only Annika talked about. And I think if Andy didn't grow, I think that would have been a great thing to show Andy. If he goes soon, that would have been a great thing to show because Andy would have messed up. But I think he's getting his leverage back. I think him working with Genevieve, him understanding his position. I think Andy asks the right questions. I think he sees the game in the right light where he's like, why am I the decoy?
Yes.
Why are things happening around me? I just think that he's still having to catch up from a lot of lost time he had from very early on.
Yeah.
And even Jay thinks he's winning, which I could see. I could see him being the BS, maybe he takes out Genevieve. Maybe he takes out Genevieve.
Could it be a Fabio style win?
I wouldn't say Fabio because I don't know how much.
It's the closest one I can think of off the top of my head, to be honest.
Yeah. I think he's in a league. I think not in terms of like who Andy is, but like in terms of narrative, I think it could be like Marianne. Take out your closest ally, a lot of pre-merge negativity. Take out your closest ally at the final 6. Have a really strong end game that can win you the game. Or I just think Jake, but could be a winner. A lot more winner potential. And
I'm still waiting.
I feel like Fabio is in a league of his own. My favorite winner, or one of my favorite winners, by the way. Fabio checks out.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be the player who, throws everything at the wall. And I think this season something will stick. I think Genevieve is his lifeline. And I'm really invested to see how his storyline unfolds. And to Jay's credit too, like the only people really bad mouthing Andy is Sam and Sierra. And Sierra, what's that? And you?
I said I'm me.
Hey, are you on Survivor 47?
No, but we all know me. I talk smack all the time.
Keyshawn's out of the game, dog. He gotta let it go.
Nah.
It's okay. But I think Andy's going to grow, and I think Sam and Sierra are going to drop off. Do I see him as the winner still? I think I have 2 people above him.
Yeah.
But there is a very big gap between Andy and Caroline. As we head over to who I think I still have really high, despite r/Edgic disagreeing wholeheartedly, but they also had Sierra at number 1 for the entire season. So we have Rachel. This was a great episode.
Great episode for Rachel.
Because it wasn't too much.
No.
It was enough. It was enough for me to not sit on Rachel anymore. Because the last few episodes, it's like, just give Rachel one more episode. Give her another chance. One more episode. This was the episode where it's like, okay, she's back in the contender list.
Yep.
I think a dark horse is a pretty good way to describe Rachel, where I think she has the underdogginess of Andy, but a lot smarter and a lot more social capital.
Yes.
What do you think about Rachel so far? Sorry.
I'm really liking Rachel. I think I was worried that she was potentially going to get this like Mariah style thing where Arnica goes and then she is the mergatory boot, which I'm really glad that didn't happen. I think this episode, we got to see luck play into her game. And I think that is always a good thing. People are all like this thing on luck in Survivor. I've seen recently people are really trying to like downplay it. But every single winner has always able to express and show how luck played a part of their game. And I think this episode, we saw the luck in her game being like, I was lucky enough to be given an advantage, use it to be safe, and then I was able to go from there. So I do think she has the potential to get to the finals and kind of be a surprise winner. And like have a really good late game. I think we always, similar to Kenzie, we always have been kind of slightly hearing from her. We've always been getting a POV. But I think the difference here is I think she is going to now kind of capitalize strategically. And that's what I hope we see in the edit.
Yeah. And I think with Rachel too, is that against Jay's point where Andy wanted to talk to Rachel, I think that's against Andy. Because I think Andy also just had a lot of negativity and not a lot of people really wanted him in the community. I think Rachel was the only one to really express the strategic version of that. Like why it made sense for her game to not let Andy in her community. And so I think that could be a point to Rachel. I could be coping. I could be just hunting for ghosts. But I really want to have Rachel at number 1. The only concern I have is for whatever reason, this episode, 2 people called her a threat.
Yeah.
Gabe and Caroline. Why? Why was this like... It wasn't explicitly stated in a confessional. It was only in conversations. And I actually made note of that because I think it's very important to keep in mind. Why is Rachel being labeled a threat? You know? And could she have a very similar trajectory to, is it Allison from David versus Goliath?
Yeah, where it was just fret.
Yep. And like the entire season, like not a lot of screen time, but like enough. But then also, I don't know, where she just was a threat for no reason. Everyone was like yelling at her, being mad, and I don't know. I wanna put Rachel higher. I'm just a little scared too, you know.
No, I think putting her second right now is right because I think it's. Like I said, we've now seen this luck-based fortune for her, but there has still been some quietness with the edit. If this next episode or the episode after, we really see her push a vote and we can kind of pinpoint something for her, then I would definitely be like number 1. But I think number 2 is a fine thing for her. I think we haven't seen anything yet. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Anything else to say about Rachel? I feel like we kind of covered all the bases. What you say?
Queen.
Really? You're giving the queen title to Rachel?
I mean, there was other people I'd give the queen title to, but for this particular episode, yes, she gets the queen.
Oh, this episode, 100%. Honestly, great episode for Rachel. But who I think is the queen of Survivor 47 so far, it's Teenie. I have been a diehard Teenie fan since day one. And I think that outside of losing Keyshawn early on, which is her pre-merge negativity, which is a hallmark of new era winners, we've constantly heard from her, and it's constantly been enough. It's not like Rachel, who gets like a one-off confessional every episode, but it's not like Sam, who gets like 12 confessionals each episode, about Sierra and, being a wolf in wolf's clothing. Teenie has a lot of the traits I really liked in a lot of other players, but with the winner potential. I like her level-headedness in the season that Genevieve and Caroline have.
Agreed.
Willing to feel comfortable in a position, but not complacent. Again, like Caroline. I think Teenie is the winner, and I'm pretty locked in on that. I think it's either her or Rachel, or it's a truly dark horse like Andy win. And something's happening in my upstairs where people are being loud. I think my dog's going berserk. What do you think about Teenie so far?
I can understand that. I definitely think Teenie has the most winning potential. As you said, we've always heard from Teenie. She's always had a consistent number of confessionals, and it's been enough to where we always understand her point of view and we always understand her stance. I definitely right now see her making the end. Obviously, my hesitancy is we're on episode 7. We're only just halfway through the season. Anything obviously can happen, but I think in terms of security, she has the most security. She even mentioned it. I think this episode she went, I wasn't even in danger, and I got people to play an idol on me. We had that stance from her. Like, the editors let us know that, hey, she had an idol played on her, and she didn't need it. Like, she had social capital. So yeah, I definitely think she's got the biggest winning potential. I'd have no issues with a Teenie win.
No, I'm all for it. I think being drunk and playing Survivor, it's what I do, every once in a while. And so, I think the only thing I'm worried about with Teenie is the lack of personal content. However, I feel like we don't need to see personal content from Teenie if she did win right this second. It could be a later point where maybe she reveals and opens up later on where she's like, hey, I'm emotional. And we got hints of it too after the Aisha vote, where she was, talking about how she's having a hard time separating game from personal feelings and why she voted for Saul. And I think that's another thing too, where it's like she voted for Saul when she's still working with him and he forgave her. And Teenie is just the safest pick of anyone, especially after Sue got no confessionals and Gabe is plummeting down and, And to Mona's point too, it is a little much. It is a little too good. It could be like Carson from 44, where it's just a perfect edit the entire season. And, maybe Final 4 boot, Final 5 boot. Fallen Angel. Especially because I honestly just think Genevieve is getting 6th place. I don't know why. That's a hill I'm dying on. Has there been talks too about Teenie in community and like leaning into the season theme?
I think so. I feel like she has been trying to have that community, and I think she has been trying to build relationships with everyone. So I definitely could see that. I think she's not been afraid to, try and be adaptable. I've always said this. I think you need to be adaptable. I think you need to be fluid. And I think she has tried to do that. And I think having someone like Rome go last episode really benefited her. I think someone like Tiana going does hurt her a little bit, but I also think she's she will be able to use that ammo to benefit her, because she's going to be able to look at people like Gabe and Sue and go, they're sticking together. We should kind of form a community ourselves. Because if the Tuku community is there, why are we just letting that happen?
Yeah. I'm really excited to see the showdown between Tuku and then God and Lava.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be a weird, because like Andy, felt very excluded from Gata, but I don't see him joining with Tuku. I see him joining with Lavo. And so maybe they'll all stick together for one vote out Kyle, call it good. And then the implosion, I think next episode is going to be very linear, but the following episode, I think it's going to be a bloodbath.
The calm before the storm.
Oh yeah. And that is true. That is 1.2 where Teeny talked about wanting an all-girls alliance, all-women alliance, and then Tiana went. I don't know how much of that is like something to note or just circumstance, because Teeny had no power in that tribal council, like nothing, no sway whatsoever. So I do think a woman's winning Survivor 47.
Well, just to plug, our polls on X, one of the questions was related to a women's alliance. So if you'd like to go and fill those out, then go right ahead. Yeah, one of the questions was regarding the women's alliance. So just for the viewers, go on to our X and fill that out.
Yeah. Go to x.com, Survivor Now.
Survivor Now Pod.
Survivor Now Pod, my apologies.
Yeah.
I don't go on Twitter. I'm not a Twitter guy. I'm an r/educ kind of guy, and that's where I get my information. Anywho, I believe it's time for we're going to my educ because Jack Powell is not here. So Ollie, with your infinite wisdom on the educ and knowledge, what does this chart mean to you?
It's colorful. No, I think, to be fair, everything that you've got on there, I think is very true. I would. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong person. Yeah, no, I think that's all pretty standard. Wait, what's Soul?
I put him as middle of the road.
Middle of the road. Yeah.
Because I think finding the advantage while he was sneaking off, I don't think it was as pointed as it was last episode, and I think that it could just be like circumstance of when he left, they were all just playing baseball, and that's kind of the big thing. Plus, he got rid of his arch nemesis in Rome, so I thought it was a pretty positive episode, despite it being so middle of the roadish. Gabe, I have him as a negative. I think that's
I agree.
Pointed. Andy had the most mixed episode of all time because it started out great, and then there was some negativity. Everyone else, I didn't really give a lot of tone. I thought Genevieve had a pretty positive episode.
I think the only thing I would say is I'd actually finish Tiana's thing with a middle of the road positive, because I think her ending, we saw her like wanting to be in the jury, and I know it was a crying thing, but I actually feel like it showed her in such a positive light. That's just me.
True.
I think I would put a middle of the road positive. But everyone else I would agree with.
Yeah.
Caroline's middle of the road. Yeah.
Maybe I'm debating. It was either that or complex personality.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think that makes more sense. I was very sleep deprived and a little drunk when I made my educ. So happy Halloween, by the way. That's everyone. Do you know what time I went to sleep, Ollie? I told you before.
5 a.m. I think you said, or 6 a.m.
6 a.m. I got home at 5, and then I had to watch Survivor 47. So,
Commitment.
And this is Jack's educ. He had a lot more complex personalities than I did. I was a little more reserved. You also had complex personality 4, positive for Tiana. I don't think I'd go that far because I also just don't think she had a lot of screen time this episode. 3 whole confessionals.
Yeah. I think I'd still put her at positive, but like I said, middle of the road.
Yeah, middle of the road.
Yeah.
Rachel as the complex personality, +5, which is a really cool ranking to give. Sorry, I like to fidget with my pen, and I just threw that. I mean, we can bash on this all we want because Jack's not here to defend himself. So really garbage opinions from Mr. Jack Powell.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I know his mom sometimes, comes on and talks with us. So, and she's not here today. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Miss Powell. Yeah. No, is there anything else? I want to go back to the start.
No, I think I've got it. Yeah. I've said all I need to say. I think what you've both put is quite accurate. And it's been nice to do like a different side of Survivor.
Oh, yeah. Anywho, Ollie, this has been the Stocks. Anything else you want to
say? Watch got something for you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yippee! Yeah.
All right.
And that'll be that.